this is Nancy at Notions, and we have another designer and vendor that was here at our Notions Commotion event, which was our retailer training with the vendors and designers. And this is Jamie Dougherty.
Hello.
She came all the way from California to teach this class at the Notions Commotion. And just FYI, we're in Grand Rapids, Michigan, so that's quite a little hike. Thank you very much
thank you
for
having
coming
me.
on over. So she's got some fun techniques to show you and a new product that you're going to want to stick around to see. All right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right. So I am here to show you a quick cure clay. It's a brand new product from Ranger Inc. It's a clay that you heat on demand. You don't need a kiln. You don't need an oven. All you need is a heated craft tool. So a craft tool and some clay, and you can get a really beautiful project like we created today in the class. So I'm going to show you today how you can cure the clay, how quickly it does cure, and give you some benefits of using this brand new product. So the Quick Cure Clay comes in 3 different size packages, a 4 ounce, an 8 ounce, and a 16 ounce. So this is what the clay is like right out of the packaging. You can see it's nice and soft and palatable. You don't have to mix parts together. And the nice part about it is you can leave this out as is on your table, and it's not going to dry out until you actually heat it with your heat tool. So you can work on a project, leave it on your surface, come back days later, and it's going to be just as soft as it was when you originally started working with it. So I'm going to show you just a cute little flower. I'm going to show you how quickly it does cure. It takes a couple of minutes to start the heating process. I'm just going to make something similar to what we did on the cover. So I'm making some little teardrop shaped pieces. Doesn't have to be exact. You don't have to be a sculptor to use the clay. Another great way to utilize the clay is in those push molds, which are really popular right now. You could also use the stamps and stamp images into the surface. So you can see how soft and pliable this clay is, which is really nice for those of us who have issues with our hands. I used other clays in the past that I've already starting to have issues because I do use my hands a lot. I started having issues with it, and this is a nice alternative. So I'm kind of pressing those together. I can heat it directly on our craft mat here, so I don't have to worry about it affecting the craft mat. I'm just adding some tooling into the center just to add a little bit of detail. It doesn't have to be too extensive. I'm going to add a center. So we have our little centerpiece here in the center of our flower. And the nice part about this is I can heat this and later on add it as an embellishment to another project. Or like we did with the album, I sculpted it directly onto the cover and then heat set it. The clay will adhere to porous surfaces such as our chipboard. You can adhere it to wood without any adhesive. You can just heat it, cure it directly onto your surface. So I'm just adding some tooling to that center of our flower. And then once I'm finished kind of playing around with it, and I'm leaving it kind of rough, you can get more fine in detail if you'd like. I can smooth this out with my fingers. You can add a little bit of water to kind of smooth out the surface as well. And then once I'm done and ready to actually cure my piece, I take my heat gun, and then I'm going to set the heat gun at one point of the clay. Now once the heating process begins, you'll notice a small plume of smoke. What that is showing you the thermal energy that is traveling through the clay and actually helps it cure itself. Now I do want to suggest using this in a well-ventilated area. Just with a fan to kind of keep the air moving, you'll be fine. And once that heat starts and begins, you'll see a slight variation in texture and color. It's more of the texture. You'll see the moisture kind of dissipate from the clay, and there'll be a thin line that kind of travels across our surface. And you can see it's kind of already starting in a couple of spots. Depending on the temperature of your room will also dictate how quickly the curing process begins. Once it does cure, you want to keep in mind that it's going to be very hot to the touch. So you want to let it sit for a couple of minutes before you try handling it. You could also blanch it in water, and that'll also help cool it a lot quicker if you're making embellishments or jewelry pieces out of it. Those smaller pieces you can drop in a cup of water. It's not going to alter the integrity of the clay at all. And as you can see, it's starting to cure. Now if you get a crack like this, it's not going to change the strength of the clay either. You can leave that crack there, or once it's cured, I can add more clay on top of it and mend it with itself. I kind of like that natural look to it, so I'll leave it, but if I wanted to, I can come in with more clay and actually bind it to itself. So just as quickly as that, this is now cured. I can let it cool, and we can add art mediums on top of it. So a great trend that I see in the crafting and mixed media industry is the dimensional aspect of clay. So you can use it, I sculpted it directly onto my cover here. This is Dina's Mixed Media Journal. I sculpted it directly onto the cover. I didn't have to adhere it. I sculpted it, heated it, and then I used acrylic paints over the top of it. If you're not a sculptor, that's okay. You can still get that trendy look by using push molds. You can use stamps to get that dimension in. This, you can use stamps or simple tooling to get that slight dimension without a lot of sculpting background. But it gives you that nice dimensional trend that we're seeing in the market. So I'm going to show you just one medium you can use on the clay. So you can use your alcohol inks on the quick cure clay. It gives it a nice organic look. It gives you a nice transparency that will allow you to still see that natural finish of the clay. You can see all of the texture and detail that the clay naturally has. Now the nice part about it is if you don't like that rough finish, you can sand it, you can drill it, you can use your Dremel on it. So it is alterable if you want to change the texture of it. You could also use acrylic paints over the top of your quick cure clay. I've even used embossing powders. You can use the embossing powders while it's cooling. Put the embossing powders directly onto the clay and allow it to emboss the powders while it's cooling. So we're simply just adding a little bit of our color. Now the colors I'm using is Sunset Orange and Shell Pink. Those are the two that I'm combining right now. And alcohol inks are a little bully. They like to push each other around, so it's a nice easy way to kind of blend color without getting too technical. So you could see how that pink is kind of pushing our orange back just a little bit, but you could see all the nice natural cracks and crevices in the clay. Now the clay is about 6 times stronger than polymer clay, so you're going to have a really nice strength to your pieces. You're not going to have to worry about, you know, months later where you've added a cover to your art journal or you've added an embellishment to the front of a card and it's cracked in half. It's going to keep that integrity and strength throughout time. Now that last color I used in the center is that honeycomb color, which is a nice contrast and nice complementary color to the other colors we used as well. And as you can see on our cover, we created a nice little embellishment. It's not too heavy in weight. It's not going to create a lot of heft to our project, but it creates a nice dimensional piece to finish off our art journal.
So thank you, Jamie, for teaching us all about the quick cure clay. It is actually available at Notions Marketing right now. So with this video, there is a supply list available. So if you're a retailer, you can download that supply list and know all of the tools that Jamie used. So the quick cure clay and the stuff that she used on the journal. If you're a consumer, that means that you want to contact your favorite retailer and say, hey, do you have Jamie Dougherty's new quick cure clay from Ranger? And then that retailer will be able to get it for you. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you soon.